Hey, I am live. We are about 5 minutes early, but y'all know how I do. I like to start just a little bit early just to make sure that the sound is doing what it needs to do and that everybody can hear me and see me okay. Oh, let me take this off. You see why I start 5 minutes early? Because little wardrobe issues like this. Do y'all like my mask? Look. It's got stars on it and it's reversible. My mother-in-law makes those. That's filtered, by the way. I have two masks as the CDC finally got around to saying we need two masks. So y'all make sure to do that or get you one of those NK95 masks. So like I said, we're going to start promptly at 4. It is 3:56 right now. Let me make sure that the microphone is close enough to me so that I can be heard. And I'm just going to pop in here real quick so that I can also monitor the chat as well. Because I can't see any of y'all because I'm broadcasting a little bit differently than normal. Y'all like my background? Look, I'm in the library. Okay, hold on one second, everybody. Let me make sure to share this out. And y'all do that too, please. Share out the live stream. Oh, wait, let me switch banners. 1 second. Y'all see where I'm telling you to sign up for the book club newsletter. You definitely want to do that. But let's go on and do this too. Share the live stream. That's what you want to do right now while I am making sure to get everything ready. I'm sharing it right now too. So while I'm sharing, you should share too. Hold on 1 second while I do that. Here we go. Hey, Valerie, how are you doing? Hi. Ooh, there's 3 people watching. Hey, everybody. Hello, everybody who's watching. Are y'all ready to discuss this book? Have y'all read this when no one is watching? Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. Give me just a second to make sure that I share this out properly. I keep saying that, and then I'm not doing it. Hold on 1 second. Okay, let me write this real quick. And Discuss When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. All right, let's do that. Okay. All right. Hey, you know what, Valerie? That's okay if you haven't read this book. I really think that it's a wonderful book, and I'm going to try very hard not to give too many spoilers, although that's a possibility. So if y'all don't like spoilers, then this is your one warning. There are going to be a few spoilers in here. I'll try to keep it general because I know that this book, at least at my branch, has been and our library system has been a really hot commodity. There's lots of holds on it. We have physical copies of this book and as well as digital copies. You can listen to the audio version on Libby. That is let me lean forward. I'm sorry, the ring light's kind of reflected in my glasses. So I might need to fix that if I don't lean back too much. Hold on, let me pull this ring light back. Just 1 sec. Okay, can you see me and not so much of the ring light? Okay, I'm going to try to remember to lean forward. All right. Welcome, everyone. It is just now 3:59, so let me just go on and introduce myself. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lovely from the Library. Today, we are going to be discussing When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. This is our February book club book read, and it was an amazing book. As usual, Alyssa Cole knocked this one out of the park. Some of y'all may remember Alyssa Cole from the Lovely from the Library podcast, where we were discussing some of her romance novels. They did not list one of the romance novels back here. I mean, she's a prolific writer, but we discussed her in the Off the Grid series. And that one is where something happens and all the electricity goes out. There are 3 books in that series. She's also done the Reluctant Royal series. There's about 5 books in that. And she's also doing a new series on royals. The first one is called How to Catch a Queen. I forget what that series is called. But there's a second one in there as well. I haven't read either one of those yet, but this is her first thriller. But before we get into discussing this, I have a few house announcements. Hello to everyone watching the replay. Thank you so much for joining me. Let me move that mic out of the way. It looks really funny. Let me know if you can hear me. Yeah, it looks funny right there underneath my name. If it's here, let me do this real quick. How about this? Boom. Now you can still hear me and the microphone is not casting weird messages. Anyway, welcome to the replay viewers. Thank you so much for joining me. As you can see, please share the live stream out. If this is something that you really enjoy and you want more people to enjoy it, share the live stream out. It doesn't matter if you're watching it live with me right now. Hello, everyone. Or if you watch the replay. What matters is that you can watch it when it is convenient for you. That is the whole point of Lovely's Digital Book Club, so that it is convenient for everyone. Before we jump into our current read, though, I do have a few announcements. So as y'all know, the library has opened back up to the public. What a lot of folks may not be aware of is that we've recently extended our hours from 1-hour session to 2-hour session. So the library is still open normal hours, but each patron gets to come in instead of 1 hour to browse the collection and use the computers and make copies and say hello to me. Now you can do that for 2 hours. So be sure to tell your friends and family. We realize that everyone is not always on Facebook or doing things digitally. And we don't want to leave anyone out. We don't want anyone to be left behind or forgotten. So please tell all your friends and family as well to come by and say hi. You can say hi a lot longer now, okay? Great. Okay, so February is almost up. Yay, February, yay, Black History Month. It's also Library Lovers Month as well. So if you love your library, please go by and say hi and say, hey, we love y'all. Thank you so much for being of service to the public, because that's what we do here. And that's what basically libraries are about, to give people equal access. Speaking of which, every week we have been putting to-go kits together. So these are craft kits for ages 0 all the way roughly to about 18. Each week they change to something new. Usually we try to match them up with a program. So like for instance, let me find one. Be Your Own Hero. I think that's going to be going with the graphic novel hangout that Rachel is doing at the end of this month. I believe that's on a Friday. Here it is, graphic novel hangout. It is going to be on March the 19th. She's doing Wonder Woman Perler Beads. Also, Be Your Own Hero. We have 3D printed little pins. There's She-Ra pins, and then the She-Ra emblem as well. That's to celebrate Women's History Month. We're going to have a St. Patrick's Day to-go kit. So what I'm looking at is this brochure that I've actually printed off. And you can go to the library's website, which is pueblolibrary.org, and go under the events tab. And then you can just go to whichever branch is closest to you or the one that you frequent the most. You can click all the programs that look interesting to you in March. And then you can print off a brochure, or you can just download it. That way you always have it on your phone, and you can, if you want to swing by and see what kind of kits the libraries have, or what we have going on, this is a perfect way to do that. And each branch has their, you can make one for each branch. You can make it for all the branches. You can come by and say hi to everybody. So we appreciate that. And remember to like the page. So whether you are watching this on the Lamb Library page or the YouTube channel, please click like. That lets us know that you like what we're doing. It also helps the video to be shown out and shared with the YouTube and the Facebook algorithms. Actually, last month's book was all about that, 10 arguments to 10 arguments to delete your social media accounts right now. Talked about algorithms and whatnot. We still need to reschedule that because we had a snow day. But if you join the newsletter, and let me do this one last one right here. This is super important. This one right here is where all the cool kids are. The book club newsletter. This lets you know what the next book we're going to be reading. It's going to give you a list for the books, every book that we're reading all year. We do the book club from January all the way until October. So we read 10 books a year. Technically, we read 11 because we always read the All Pueblo Reads book. That one is usually in November. So technically, we read 11, but I don't know what that book is yet. So as soon as I know, I'll let y'all know. Okay? Okay. All right. I think that's roughly it. I feel like I might be leaving something out. If I left something out, program or something like that, please blame it on my head and not on my heart. We do Science Saturdays at LAM now. It is a virtual program, and Jennifer, our children's librarian, usually has some sort of STEAM or STEM activity planned for the babies. Let me see if I can find one. Oh, they're doing felt pens on March the 6th. They're going to be making, it looks like a cat, a kitty, and an alien. So you can't really see this. Maybe you can see that. Kitty and alien felt pens. And then also they're going to be making mini pocket bunnies, but that's not until April. Anyway, I digress. I just wanted to put the emphasis on the programs that the librarians have been really working hard on to keep everybody engaged during this whole time of new foraging. Speaking of which, let's forage along. So let's jump right in to When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. So I'm just going to read the synopsis real quick for those of you who have not had a chance to get the gist of this book yet. Sydney Green is Brooklyn born and raised, but her beloved neighborhood seems to change every time she blinks. Condos are sprouting up like weeds. For sale signs are popping up overnight, and the neighbors she's known all her life are disappearing. To hold on to her community's past and present, Sydney channels her frustration into a walking tour and finds an unlikely and unwanted assistance in one of the new arrivals to the block, her neighbor Theo. But Sydney and Theo's deep dive into history quickly becomes a dizzying descent into paranoia and fear. Their neighbors may not have moved to the suburbs after all, and the push to revitalize the community may be more deadly than advertised. When does coincidence become conspiracy? Where do the people go when gentrification pushes them out? Can Sydney and Theo trust each other or themselves long enough to find out before they too disappear? All right, so basically that's what this book is about. This book, it has so many different themes, and we'll try to cover as many of them as we can. But the themes include gentrification, racism, class, privilege, capitalism, white supremacy, the caste system that in America we like to not talk about, but it's here. It's definitely here. Mental health. What else? There was another one. It is called Made Neighborhoods. That's not what built environments. So that's kind of like with these new shopping centers that come up, and they kind of have those built-in neighborhoods, and they're close to a train station. They're in the trendy area, so they're near downtown usually, and there's nightclubs and places to go eat. This was in the before times when people used to go out and do things like that. I'm sure people are still going out and doing things like that. Don't you do it. We're not out of this yet, y'all. Please wash your hands, wear a mask, and do all those social distancing things that we are supposed to be doing to keep each other safe. But that's what a built neighborhood is. And so what's happening is Sydney Green is one of the main characters, and Theo is another one. There are, of course, other people in the book, but the books, the chapters are told through alternating perspectives. First Sydney, then Theo, back and forth, back and forth. And I really liked how Alyssa did that, because she is looking at someone who was born in the neighborhood and knows what it used to be like versus someone coming in and seeing how its gentrification is affecting people around them. So I really like that as well. But one of the things that's going on here is that Sydney is she's back in her Brooklyn neighborhood where she was born and raised, but a lot has changed since she's left. She just had a divorce from her husband, who was not physically abusive, but verbally and mentally abusive. Um, let's see what else is going on. So when Sydney comes back to the neighborhood, she is seeing it with fresh eyes. She's seeing the area being gentrified. The Black residents are being pushed aside to make way for young and upcoming white couples who are eager to renovate the brownstones for which the community is famous for. So, unlike the other Black and brown residents who did not leave and come back like Sydney, she's able to see it happening a lot more quickly because I guess they're in the thick of things. They're not realizing how much has changed because it's happening gradually for them. But Sydney comes back, like I said, after she's had a divorce, and she's there to take care of her mother, who's sick and probably dying. And it seems like she's watching her mother and the neighborhood die right in front of her, and she really feels really helpless to do anything about it. So, pardon me. Excuse me. So she sees people doing tours, people who are not from the neighborhood, doing historical tours on what the buildings used to look like a long, long time ago. So she decides to take one of these tours. And the guide that's giving the tour is talking about when the neighborhood belonged to white families with nostalgia. And, she's talking about how back when the neighborhood was first built and what white people lived there and how they made it popular and everything. And it really starts to irk Sydney because the tour guide glosses over all the successful Black people that were there, the first doctor, the first dentist, someone who still lives there, and they were the first accountant, or they like the mayor of the town who makes sure that everybody has things that they need and that the neighborhood is running smoothly. He's in charge of the block party. They don't mention any of these historical facts that Sydney and Theo later uncover. And so Sydney is on the tour and she's just shouting out things. And some of the participants start to get irritated with her. And then the tour guide says, well, why don't you start your own? And so that's what Sydney does. The one person who was like, wow, that's some really cool information on that tour guide, on the tour that Sydney went on, happened to be Theo. Theo is there. The neighborhood is called Gifford Place, by the way. So Theo is there with his girlfriend, and Theo, he represents the white perspective of somebody moving into a neighborhood that is being gentrified. In an article that I posted on the Lovely from the Library Facebook page, y'all should definitely go over there and check that out, because I post a lot of extra articles to kind of fill out or fill in gaps in the different books that we were talking about. Speaking of which, share the live stream, please. Please remember to share this out. So anyway, Alyssa Cole said that she put Theo in the book because she wanted his perspective to be of a white person who maybe doesn't realize that they're participating in systems of oppression. Even though people have been talking about neighborhoods getting gentrified and people not being able to afford things that they once could afford, she wanted him to start to realize what had been going on all along around him, even though he hadn't been paying attention to it. So that's basically one of the reasons why Theo is there. Now, Theo also represents somebody who does not necessarily come from money, because when we are talking about the different themes in the book, we definitely talk about class and privilege, and Theo doesn't necessarily have a ton of those. His girlfriend does, but he does not. So let me just hold on. I took some notes on Theo. Let's see. He moved to Gifford Place with his girlfriend. He's super excited about the diverse multicultural subdivision. He comes from a working class background. Theo's a bit of a grifter. He has a bit of criminal element. He's trying to turn over a new leaf, buy a house, settle down, invest in some property with some money that he has been able to save up. So anyway, he's excited because he likes the multicultural subdivision and the home they would refurbish, in which they would build a life together, Theo and his girlfriend. But their relationship imploded shortly after they moved in. He lost his job. He's burned a lot of bridges, so he doesn't really have a lot of prospects. Plus, his girlfriend cheated on him. She made him move to a part of the brownstone that doesn't really have running water. I don't think he has electricity, or it's too hot. Yeah, it doesn't have any working water or air conditioning. And now his girlfriend, I think her name is Kim. To be quite honest, I tried to forget that girl. She is being hostile toward the Black citizens in the community. And to be clear, there are Hispanic folks there too. You can be Black and Hispanic, but there are non-Black Hispanic people there. There are people from all over Somalia. There are people from South America, Central America, all in this neighborhood, living and trying to survive as they watch it be gentrified and watch themselves get pushed out. So that's Sydney and Theo. Another thing about Sydney too, like I said earlier, is because she had gone off and only came back to take care of her sick mother, she is able to see the gentrification with fresher eyes than the people who stayed there. Let's see what else real quick. Oh, you know what else too? I think one of the major stars or major characters in the book is the neighborhood itself. I really, really like that because there's a lot of history in that neighborhood. There is a book that we have at the library. It's called The Color of Law: A Forgotten History of How Our Government Segregated America by Richard Rothstein. That's one of them. And it just talks about how neighborhoods were segregated and how redlining pushed Black people in one part of neighborhoods and white people in other parts of it. Redlining has a lot of implications. It's not just property values, although that's a large part of it. It affects people's education, because you generally go to school in the neighborhood in which you live. If the property values are down, then your tax dollars that you're able to give to your school aren't as high as somebody who has a higher tax or property value. And that's just the way schooling works in America. That is obviously not fair, especially if your neighborhood regularly gets valued lower than what the homes in that neighborhood are actually worth. But that's part of what gentrification does, is it waits to improve a neighborhood until white and affluent people start to move in. And then things like having parks and green spaces and fresh vegetables and enough stores and the latest editions of the McGraw-Hill textbooks start happening in a neighborhood once you start getting an influx of the dominant culture of society of white folks versus the Black and brown people who would always live there. So let me see. So we've talked about the stars of the neighborhood. Also, I think it was really, really important that this book was set up north as far as gentrification is concerned. A lot of times, some issues around class and the caste system and white supremacy tends to get blamed on the South a lot. And y'all know I'm from Texas. Actually, I was born in Denver, but my family is from Texas, and I lived in Texas for quite some time. So that tends to get blamed on the South a lot. And it was not just the South. It happens everywhere. Anywhere there is gentrification, there is a system involved to push the undesirables out while you're keeping or letting the people who you think are more desirable in. And I think it was important that it took place in New York so that you can understand that it's not just the South that has an issue with racism and classism and white supremacy. It's the whole country. And it's really pertinent that we talk about this now, especially with the housing shortage that's going on, and how a lot of people really just don't have affordable housing is a hard thing to come by. And so people sometimes end up having to take what they can get versus what they actually deserve. So another thing that I wanted to talk about briefly in this book is we've talked about the themes, and we'll keep touching on them. I keep trying to check some of them off so I don't repeat myself too much. One of the things that we talked a lot about in this book, or was focused on a lot, was mental health. Sydney tends to second guess herself a lot. She's not sure if she is being a burden on her friend, because she feels like she leans on her friend too much. And her friend even says, hey, I'm happy to help you, but I've been helping you a lot and I'm going through a lot of things too. And I really think that you need to seek mental health. You need to see somebody professional. You need to go see a therapist. They can help you more with this than I can. They're going to be more objective. And I wholeheartedly agree with that. I thought that that was very important that that was addressed in the book, because then it also makes Sydney an unreliable narrator. That also happens to Theo, because Theo's halfway drunk half of the time. And so he's kind of a little hazy blur and he can't be sure, like when, what is his name? The mayor of Gifford Place. I forget his name. And he has that kid. I can always remember his dog's name is Count Basie. But Theo, he kind of found some wine and drank the rest of it. He's sad and depressed because his girlfriend's cheating on him, like all in his face. And she's eating his leftovers. And, there was some wine in the fridge. So he eats the leftovers, drinks the wine. And he can't quite be sure if what he sees is what he sees when the lights are shaking and rattling in the mayor's house, the mayor of the neighborhood, Count Basie's owner. So, you know what? Let me see if somebody in the comments section who's read the book, if y'all remember what that man's name is, please help me. Sorry to that man. I cannot remember his name. Just the dog. His name is Count Basie. Does anybody remember? No? That's okay. I can't remember his name either. I read this book a while back, and his name just is not sticking in my head, unfortunately. Oh, look, y'all, I'm noticing on Facebook that I'm closed caption. That's exciting. Yay for accessibility. I want everybody to be able to participate. So if you are hard of hearing, or if you're deaf, or hard of hearing, you can put captions on these videos and then you can enjoy them too. How exciting. Okay, there. All right. So anywho, so he is an unreliable narrator as well. And I think part of that goes to talk about is when you're experiencing a lot of oppression and when you're just in survival mode, sometimes your brain plays tricks on you. And it can make you gaslight your own self or second guess what you are experiencing and feeling and whatnot. So I really thought that was, I thought that was an interesting twist, so that we could be guessing until the very end. Let's see what else. Ooh, one of the things that I really liked a lot at the end of each of these books, at the end of each of the chapters, was them talking on that app, Our Hood app. It's kind of like Nextdoor. Have any of y'all ever heard of that app, Nextdoor? It's an app that you can join to meet your neighbors and talk about things that are going on. If maybe you need a handy person to fix things. I'm trying not to say handyman. A repair person. Thank you. If you need a repair person that does odd jobs like cleaning gutters or fixing things around the home, that's kind of what Nextdoor app is. Sometimes the people on that app are just, y'all, they are so petty and they fight. And sometimes I'm like, did you call the cops? Because what you just described in this post is a whole crime. And I don't think you remember that you should call the cops. So sometimes I'm on there just because people are petty and I'm nosy and I'm wondering what's going on. So I really like that at the end of each chapter, we get a little posts from Our Hood app. The other thing that I liked a lot too were things that the book did very well was they started pointing out what gentrification can look and feel like. How about that scary Uber drive, y'all? Ooh, that was so scary. That's not a part of the gentrification. That was just popped into my head because it scared me to death. Because when we start to realize that the larger question, here we go, that's what it is. the larger question of the whole story is not just the neighborhood being gentrified, but let me make sure I get it right. What is the history of Sydney's childhood neighborhood, and as she and that neighborhood face the realities of gentrification that are very literally knocking on their front doors, where exactly are her former neighbors going after they leave? So a lot of people start to disappear. The guy who owns the bodega, he was there one minute, he's gone the next. The lady that Sydney gets her hair braided from, she's from Somalia. All of a sudden, her immigration is getting looked into, and so she's getting threatened that way. There is something in here called that happens with the community garden. It is called deed fraud. Deed fraud, or let me see what it's called. Hold on a second. Yeah, it's called deed fraud, where it happens a lot to Black and brown people in neighborhoods that are becoming popular and getting gentrified. They will be tricked into accepting less money than their house is actually worth. And I'm talking about people who have brownstones that are worth $1 or $2 million, and then they get tricked into accepting $120,000 or $360,000 versus the million that their homes are actually worth. Sometimes they're forced to sign papers or tricked into signing papers that seem like they're offering financial help, but really what they're doing is stealing them homes right off and underneath those people. And honestly, deed fraud and deed theft are one of the highest crime rates that are happening in the housing issue, lack of affordable housing. I don't want to say issue. That's not the word I'm looking for. Y'all know what I'm talking about, though. So that happens quite a bit. It's very hard to fight in court, and there's very little resources, recourse as well. Once this happens, now sometimes people still end up paying mortgage on a house they no longer own as well, all because people are greedy and they will try and lie and cheat and steal to get somebody out of a property that they think that they can fix up and earn more money hand over fist. So anyway, that they describe that when the city comes and they reclaim the lot that Sydney's mother had turned into a community garden. And so that's another thing too that they bring up a little bit, is how a lot of the newcomers don't value the residents who currently live there. They like the charm of the neighborhood. They like how did like the page get turned? My name got turned into like the page. Hold on a second. Oh, I see what happened. It's posted. Hang on. There. Okay, I'm like, my name is not like the page. My name is Lovely. And speaking of which, though, like the page, please. Thank you very much. Like the page so that the algorithm will let us know. Well, so you can let the algorithm know that you like what we're doing. Hold on. There we go. And share the live stream, please. Please share the live stream out so that people who are not able to be here right now can watch it at their convenience. So anyway, back to debt fraud, or I keep saying debt fraud, deed fraud. That happens to people right now. It happens every day, and it is discussed very well in this book. Let's see. We talked about our Hood app. We talked about how Sydney and Theo discussed the gentrification of their neighborhood from different perspectives. So you can see how somebody who's lived there all their life and is seeing things change, not so much for the better, really feels a kind of way about the new people who come in. Then there are those two, that lesbian couple, Jennifer and Jennifer, and they think that the neighborhood folks are having a hard time with them because they're gay, and that is not true at all. And that also is a frustrating thing. I'm so glad Alyssa put this in here, and she was like, they're so busy worrying about people thinking that they're they're so worried about Black and brown people being homophobic that they don't even notice that there's a brownstone that they live right next door to, and there are two older Black women who live there, and they're not related at all. Because they're gay, they're a couple. So don't nobody care about them being gay. They care about them coming in and changing their neighborhood and not fitting in and trying to push the people out. And one thing that I just started thinking about before we moved to, do I have tape on my eye? It's this kind of tape for my mask. And so sometimes it gets stuck on my eye and it looks like I have a little black eye. Anyway, and it's just tape gunk. Before I moved to Pueblo, like I tell y'all, I'm from Texas. I lived there for 39 some odd years. But three separate homes, because we were just renting then. We stayed in home so long that someone bought it from off and underneath us, and they bought it and they refurbished it and then they raised the rent. But we had to move, and this happened to us 3 times, maybe 2 or 3 times. I think the last time we moved just because we were coming to live in Pueblo. But that neighborhood that I lived in was close to 2 colleges, Texas Women's University and University of North Texas. And so the property values started going up. And so they kept pushing people like me who had been living in that neighborhood for probably 15 years, close to 20. I kept getting pushed further and further out, further and further away from all the things that I liked in the neighborhood, that it was close to local restaurants and bars and clubs, and that I could walk to work. The library was very close. I did not work at the library. I worked at a health food store, but boy, I was at that library so much, I might as well have worked there. And look where I am today. Anyway, so gentrification does happen. And sometimes the signs of it are a bit subtle. One of the other things, like when they were going into the bodega, and the Mr. Ahmad, who was there one day and gone the next. So when Theo and Sydney are in there and she's trying to buy some snacks or something, or a new flavor of kombucha, they're, trying to push her out. Like, A, she wouldn't know what kombucha was. And B, she doesn't deserve to be in the bodega where she has shopped her whole life, and she knew the man who used to run it. And how the new owner shortchanges her and says that she only gave him a 10 and gives her change back for a 10 when she really gave him a 20. And Theo starts to get mad and get loud and stuff. And the cops get threatened to be called on her again, which is very concerning, because people know what they are doing when they call the cops on Black people who are not threatening anyone and who are unarmed. They know the statistics, and they use that as a weapon to put Sydney in her place. And she was trying to help Theo understand you can't just go in guns a-blazing, guns akimbo all the time, because you're going to cause problems for me later when you're not here, but also for the rest of the people in the neighborhood. So let's see what else. I kind of got off topic. That's what these notes are for. So the WhatsApp, our Hood app. There's this lady that is constantly complaining about somebody leaving dog poop in their neighborhood and not picking it up, and how disgusting it is. Come to find out, it's her husband doing it. It's her dog's poop, and she's blaming it on her new neighbors. And obviously it has to be them, because they're riffraff and they don't know how to act right and blah, blah, blah. Everybody in the neighborhood who are not part of the gentrification or gentrifiers, they know whose poop it is. They also know it's useless telling her that, because she won't even talk to them directly. So they don't want to be involved in anything that the neighborhood is doing. They don't want to be involved in the block party that is getting planned. They don't want to be a part of the systems and the things that made them like that neighborhood in the first place. So that's another issue that's going on as well. Let me see. What time is it? Oh, okay. So we have about 15 minutes left, because I'm trying to avoid spoilers and also just touch on some of the key points. Let me look at the comments real quick. Oh, hi, Valerie. Rachel says, hey, or Valerie says, hey, hello. And here, I'll put you up. And then Rachel says she listened to it. It's amazing. And she loved it so much. Yeah, Rachel listened to that one fairly quickly. I think in one setting, huh, Rachel? Oh, good. Oh, and then Rachel is remembering that and that one part where I was talking about Theo not being too sure what was going on in the mayor of Gifford Place's house. She thinks that he was drugged by his ex-girlfriend and her new boyfriend. And I'm sure that that's what was happening too, because he did tell him to drink the wine. Oh, you're right, Rachel. He was really insistent. She did say drink the wine. So I'm pretty sure that they did drug them. And as we found out, there was a lot going on. So this is where we're really going to get into the spoilers. We were 36 minutes into this broadcast, probably closer to 40. So I really feel like by now, hold on, I'm gonna switch the banner out because I think I'm done with the comments. By now, if you're concerned about spoilers, you've had plenty of time to leave. And hold on, let me hide this real quick. Excuse me. Okay, so the other thing that I really, really liked in this book is how it incorporated a lot of urban legends or, neighborhood urban legends, which turn out to have a bit of truth to them. So all that shaking and rumbling and thundering was coming from a hospital that was another large part of the neighbor or of the story, was how this medical facility was being put in this neighborhood, even though a lot of the people there did not necessarily want it. Come to find out, a larger part of the history of the neighborhood was not just the first Black banker or the first Black church to register people to vote. That was a part of it, but was the medical experimentation that was going on and turning people into zombies. Oh my gosh, how did y'all expect that? I did not expect that. Holy moly, that was probably my favorite part. I love zombies. I did not expect that. Another thing that I really liked was how everybody in the neighborhood kept trying to look out for Sydney. Sydney had doubted herself so much and had such a mental health break that she forgot that one of the things about that community that made them who they are is that they looked out for one another, and that these people knew her and loved her and had her best interests at heart. And she did not find that out more so than anything when her and Thea were like, oh my God, we got to go to the garden and we have to, I need your help. And Thea was just finna help her. He was just going to help her dig up a body. And he did. Child, come to find out her mama was not in the garden. Woo. Remember what she kept saying? Mommy's in the garden. Mommy was in the garden. And then it turned out that all the elder Black people, all those old Black people had a plan, knew what was going on. If she had just reached out to them sooner, like they kept asking her, then she probably could have avoided a lot of the trauma and turmoil. Again, I kind of gave you a spoiler, but I still ain't telling you how it happened. So you can still enjoy this book, and it's definitely rereadable because she has taken a lot of these elements of gentrification, medical experimentation, which is A, the subject of our next book, B, something that has been happening to Black and brown people in this country since this country began, and C, part of the reason why they were trying to push so many people out is because these folks had and it's tying it back to capitalism. These folks had a vested interest in that medical facility being in that neighborhood. B, getting the people out of that neighborhood who did own property so that the new white people and affluent people, I should say affluent, because as we found out when they went into that underground lair, it wasn't just white people down there who met the chopper. It was Black people was there meeting the chopper, and Asian people. And by the chopper, I mean when Sydney let that pistol sing, the chopper, she let the chopper sing. Doo, doo, doo. That's a 22. Brr, brr, brr. That's a chopper. Anyway, y'all didn't come here for my sound effects. But anyway, the chopper. I was not expecting Sydney to just turn into freaking Rambo and start shooting people. And It was absolutely amazing. I do like the heroes of the story being the elders. And that is, like I said, something that's a part of Black history. That's a part of living in a Black neighborhood. If you live in a traditional Black neighborhood, I grew up in one. Hey, if Rachel says it was epic, that was an epic ending. Then you realize that all those elders in the neighborhood could discipline you. If they saw you doing something you weren't supposed to, they could correct you. If people needed food or rides to work or whatever, people in the neighborhood helped each other out because they might need help too one day. And that's just kind of how people in neighborhoods do, is they don't leave people out. They're a community, and communities help one another. And so at the end of the book, when they start getting all of these news reports and our neighborhood, our hood app, all these, they start piecing things together. They realize that their neighborhood was just one neighborhood that was having the experience of gentrification. And then she kind of maps it out, how it's happening everywhere across the country. Everywhere where you're seeing people who are having economic hardship trying to make ends meet, the have versus the have-nots, the people who were established there getting pushed out for the newcomers who have more money because of the system of capitalism and the caste system in America, and their privilege as well, and gentrification also. Not to mention racism, but we already did that several times. Let's see what else. I think that's roughly it. Let me double check my notes and make sure that I didn't leave anything out. Oh, one of the reasons why I picked this book is because obviously this month is Black History Month. And oftentimes, especially when I was a little kid, I would feel like people would end up celebrating the struggle that Black folks in this country have gone through versus the people. So you ended up celebrating the struggle instead of celebrating the people. And so I wanted to read a fiction book that did not necessarily deal with civil rights head on, even though this book did. In this whole book, you will never hear her mention or say white supremacy out loud. But that's exactly what this book is talking about. It's a whole character in here, but she does not say that out loud. And I think that was good for some people, because for some people like me, this book is just like, this is not surprising to me at all. A lot of this stuff that is happening as far as people getting pushed out of their neighborhood, people, Black folks not being valued in their own neighborhood, even though people all want to move there. People assuming that you only have a certain type of education because of what your skin looks like and where you live, that sort of thing. None of that was surprising to me at all. The medical experimentation, not surprising. My family's been talking about that for generations. Gentrification, not surprising. My family has been talking about that for generations, so on and so forth. A lot of this book was not surprising to me. However, I do like how she wrote it in such a way so that people who these things are new to can read about it without getting a cudgel over the head, talking about, oh, you big dummy, you big idiot, how come you didn't notice what's happening? It's been happening around you this whole time. Nobody wants to learn like that. Nobody wants to feel like they were a part of an oppressive system, even though a lot of us are, and we're unaware of it. So I like the way that she approached these very real topics through fiction so that people can learn without being preached to, basically. So let me see. It says, When No One Is Watching is a fantastic example of how much a reader can learn about history from a work of fiction when a skilled author bases an engaging story in historical facts. Knowing how to change our future as a country must necessarily start from understanding our past. So I think that's a good note to end on. And I hope that those of you who have not had a chance to finish this book yet, I hope that you do, and then just add your comments down to the discussion below. Come back, rewatch this video. Tell me who your favorite characters were. Did this book seem realistic to you? It did to me because I've watched it happen. It's happened to me 3 times. And I'm just like, why y'all keep buying my house off and underneath me? Well, I bought my house that I live in now, so they can't do it. Haha. Let's see. I really think that the world building in this book was phenomenal. What else? The characters were definitely believable to me. I really like Sydney and Theo. And Sydney's roommate, I'm still a little concerned about her, even though she dead. I'm like, girl, girl, I'm second guessing too. I'm like, did you rat Sydney out? I don't think she did. That scratching that she heard in the wall. Could you imagine? That was her friend. That was her friend who she started to second guess too. Anyway, what else? I think that's it. It would be nice. Well, I don't know if it would be nice if there was a part 2. I really would like to see Alyssa Cole write another thriller. I think she's very, very good at it. I usually read her romance novels because I like a happily ever after. Life is hard enough, and there's all kind of problems going on in the world. That sometimes I want a happily ever after. I want to see things work out. Speaking of which, too, next month's book is, let me see if I can share this screen real quick. Let's see, screen share. I don't know if it's sharing. Let me see. I'm trying to tell you what the next book is. I'm just going to read this real quick. Okay, so the next book that we are reading from March is called Medical Bondage, Race, Gender, and the Origins of American Gynecology. It's by Dr. Deirdre Cooper Owens, and you can get the audiobook on Hoopla, or you can also get the physical copy at any PCCLD branch. That talks about the foundation of gynecology. It talks about how enslaved women were experimented on with no anesthesia, and that is where we get the science of gynecology today. So please make sure that you sign up for the book club newsletter, because I will be sending out the synopsises. Is that how you say the plural of synopsis? Synopsises? I don't know, but the plural of that word. And I'll also be sending out a reminder email with a PDF. It's a PDF that kind of explains with articles, a background on the author, articles on the subject matter of the book, and also discussion questions as well. I hope that you all enjoyed our discussion of When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. Please check out her other books, and I will see you all very soon again right here on the Lovely Digital Book Club. Bye. I kind of forgot what I was saying. Could you tell? It's okay. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.